Thank you for joining me today. I will be putting pockets into a dress, and the dress is here. The fabric that my friend chose was this, so I think that works quite well. And I found a pattern for a pocket. It goes into culottes or a baggy pair of trousers, so it's got straight sides just like this dress. So it should be quite easy to do. So let's get on with it. This is what they call a fat quarter. It's half the width of a piece of fabric by 18 inches. I think what I'm going to have to do is iron this first. There's two things I've got to consider. One is she wants to be able to put a cell phone into the pocket and for it to stay there. What I need to do is bring that up slightly so that I can cut a little bit deeper around to the side to make it wider here. The other thing is the dress it's going into. It's layered. So I'm going to be putting the pocket into the second layer, which is here. And I was going to say, because I don't have a waistband to put it into, I'm not going to bother. But I think what I'll do is I'll sew this into the seam at the top of this layer so that the pocket faces initially forward. Obviously the weight in there will probably swing it backwards, but I think if the top of the pocket is stable and facing forward, it might work out. Let's bring that just down a little bit. I think her cell phone's about the same size as mine. Seam allowance there. Bring that up just a little bit. I've got the weight on this, so I'm not going to worry too much. Round and then into shape and across. And now I can put this part on here like that. I'll put my phone on it just to hold it, and I'll cut round here as well. I've paired them up. Put that at the top. Turn it around so I can actually see what it is I'm doing. You see this mark here? I'm going to put a little mark there. I'm going to put a little mark here too. And I'll do the same on this side too. I have the pattern out just to double check things. Basically I need to open the side of the skirt far enough for the pocket to fit in and go from there. Here is the pocket, and it looks like it goes the whole section of that piece there. I'm going to stop this one round about here, put a pin about an inch above there. The seam comes down and then there isn't a seam on the lower part of the skirt, so I can't take it further down, I have to stop there. To look at this, you've got the serging, and I was wondering why there's a ridge, and the ridge is because they have folded the seam over and then sewn it. A bit unusual, but seen unusual before. So let's see if I can pick out some of these threads here. Very carefully pick it until I've got, there we are, got a black thread there. Cut through there. Hopefully that's pulled that out. Oh, and then I can't see on the back. I've opened enough of the seam that if I'm really careful, I can cut the threads in between. But I'm having to be really careful because I really can't see any of this. It's not very clear to me anymore. And slowly this will all come undone. When you're repairing something or altering it, take way longer than you assume they would. I found sometimes if I go along these stitches, if I can find them like that on one side and again on the other, it sometimes works. So whatever method, and it might be a couple of different methods you have to use them to get the stitches out. Let me do that to both sides of this dress and see where I am then. So I have opened the side of the dress like this. Here's the base of the skirt, and obviously the bodice is up here. Taking either side of the pocket fabric, I've turned it this way around so that you can see that the right sides are together, and I'm just going to initially pin that one like that into place. Now I did it this way because it is very easy to get confused. A couple of pins on this side, I'm going to attach that one, right sides together, and again put a pin on it to hold it so I know where it goes. I'll do the same on the other side. I've got 4 sides to sew. Here is the top of the join for the bodice. I'm going to make sure that the top of the pocket matches like that. I'm not going to pull it as such, but I am going to even it out. It's right where that clip is that I'd made. That's where my sew line starts. So it reaches the top here. Here's the little clip that I want to start sewing at. Take my pin out and pop it in here like that. Everything's where I need it to be. Pull the side seam out so that they're even, like that. Everything's nice and even there. I'm going to slide that under here, lift the foot up if you need to, lower the foot, straighten that seam out because it wants to fold where it had been folded. Do a couple of stitches forward, remove the pin, go back 2 or 3 stitches and then forward, making sure that that is as even as you can make it. The outside edge is running along the outside of the foot. Do not pull the fabric. I say that because the original is a rayon and it's quite stretchy. All I'm doing is holding it there and evening it out. I probably should have thought about washing the cotton fabric, but too late now. Even that out so it rolls down and into place. I've got to where that marker is, and I am going to extend on down for as far as I can on here. I just want the markers to be even. I can't go too much further down. I could pull a little bit more out, but I don't want to because I get into the lower part of the skirt and there's no way I can open the lower half of the skirt. I am really confined to what I can do with what I've got. Reverse and forward, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. Make sure that that pocket and that pocket are even at the top. Remove the pin, even out the fabric, place the pin crossways. Make sure that the bottom of that and the bottom of the pocket are even. Then you know that you haven't stretched one side against the other. I can actually go from the bottom up because all the marks I need are in place. Slide that underneath. I've eyeballed where that is so I can't lose it. Forward and back a couple of stitches like that, and then go all the way across the opening to the top marker. If you work it this way up, you can make sure that the side of the dress or skirt, shorts, whatever it is you're putting pockets into, that the seam that has been rucked up for a long time is open. You could, if you wanted to, iron it. That would be entirely up to you. And I'm going to sew to that pin and reverse. Pop this back underneath, and I'm going to run a zigzag stitch over the side. It just makes it look better. I'm going to do that also on all 4 sides. I want it to not fray. I don't have a serger. I used to. I just never used it, so I think I sold it. Once you've got both sides in, pin this together like that. I'm going to go in at right angles. If I forget to take them out as I go round, then it's safe. Ideally, this should have all gone into the side seam, but because the dress is as it is, I can't, and that's fine. I'm going to go around the pocket, and I'm not going to give it a very big seam. I'm trying to make them as big as possible. Forward and back here to start off with so I can look at it. When you get to the top, reverse. Before I do the other side, I'm going to take this from here to here, because when I close the side of the dress up, that is not going to go into the seam, which means that I'm going to have to cut it off. Do forward and reverse up to that point and straight down in a straight line. When I get to there, I'm going to now pull it straight into this seam along here by about an inch so that it won't come undone. Now I'm going to do a zigzag from just below there, actually, all the way around to the top, just following the raw edge. I have this part of the foot running along the sewing here, so it should go in quite nicely. On this edge, I'm just going to cut up at an angle like this, minding the back of the skirt. I don't want to cut anything I shouldn't be cutting, so I'll take that back here. I need to do the same at the top. I'm just going to take it at an angle and cut it back, because here again I can't take it into the seam. I'm going to just have to make do with what I've got. So I'll pull all of the dress away, do forward and back at the top and into here where that clip is, and then forward and back. Now this is going right into the top of the skirt, so I really don't need to do a zigzag over it, but I will cut it back like that. So now I'm going to push this all the way through like this. This needs to go up like that. This is actually the front of the dress, so I am going to put that up and then pin it into place. That's the front of the dress there, so I'm going to pull this down here and the top of the pocket into place here. Just put that onto that seam there. So that's there. Now let's go to the bottom of the pocket. I need to put a mark through from here. There we go. And I'm going to put a pin through to the front so I know where I'm going to, like that. Pull the pocket to the front of the dress. I'm going to take that pin out because it's no use where it is there. I want it on this side. Straighten all of that out and then put the pin back in like that. Slide the side of the dress underneath here to that pin mark. Make sure everything is flat and out of the way. So my pin is going at right angles. I'm going to lower that into place like that, and I will remove the pin and sew down the side. A few stitches forward and then reverse, and then on down to join here, and I need to secure it so that the rest of the seam doesn't come undone. And back. Just lined up the top of the pocket as I had for the bottom. Pull all those pleats out, and I'm going to sew down just above where the skirt goes in to just below where the top of the pocket goes in. Forward and back at the top, on down, and then back and forward there too. It's just so that everything holds in place. Pull the pocket forwards like that against the top of the skirt and bodice like that. I'm going to pull this across, level the top of the pocket and the dress as evenly as I can. Pop that down and sew across where the seam is. Now reverse and then forward to the end and over just a little bit, following that seam. And reverse. And I'm going to put a zigzag over there so that the pocket doesn't fray. The extra sewing will strengthen the stitching that's there. So I'm going to feed the side of this under here. There's the pocket. Here is where the clip is. Just going to poke a pin through where that is to the front of the dress so I know. I'll be taking that out more or less immediately. So make sure that the pocket is facing forward like that. And I am going to put a pin along this edge. My thumb is holding where it needs to go in. Fold that over and into place. The pocket needs to be as flat as possible. The best thing to do is pull the two side seams against each other. So if I open that up, the seam here and here are level. Pop that there and slightly over. I remove the pin because it still might not be even underneath, but I've eyeballed where I need to start. Now I'm going to sew the side seam down and into place with the pocket forward like that and even. I will be sewing over the original stitching and sew all the way down. Now I'm making sure that I'm on this side of the seam slightly because I want to make sure that everything's in place. And then over the seam here and back. That's the bottom of the pocket in place. Trim back all the threads, but not the fabric. Now I'm going to do the top of the seam. Lay that out. I'm going to go from the bodice on down to here. So it's about an inch down from the top. Again, forward and back, over, down, reverse, and two pockets in a dress that didn't have pockets. This is what the pocket looks like on the underside. It's joined in here, across the top here, and then across the bottom here. So it should be nicely supported by the waist of the dress. Open it up and you can't see the new pocket from the outside. It's nice and invisible. I'm going to pull back any threads that need to be cut off and trim them back. I'm pleased with it. Thank you for joining me today. I have a feeling my friend is going to be really thrilled with having pockets in her dress. I think it's going to be big enough for what she wants it for. They're quite deep. Women's pockets don't tend to be very deep, which is a bit unfortunate, but they're quite deep. They come to the top of the lower portion of the dress. She'll let me know. We've been friends for a long time. She will absolutely let me know if it's wrong. I hope this was a useful video. If you want to see more from me, please subscribe, hit the bell button, and a few thumbs up would be brilliant. And in the meantime, take care. See you later. Ciao.